The batch record is far more than just administrative paperwork. It is the single most important document in pharmaceutical manufacturing, serving as the definitive legal history of a drug product. In the heavily regulated world of pharmaceuticals, the document's integrity is continually scrutinized, and data shows that production record review deviations are the most frequent good manufacturing practice, or GMP, observations made by the FDA. This consistent ranking at the top of the FDA's observation list underscores a critical industry weakness that demands rigorous attention. When the batch record is non-compliant, the consequences cascade across regulatory, product, and business domains. Failure can result in regulatory actions such as FDA 483 inspection observations, official warning letters, legally binding consent decrees, and even operational shutdowns. The impact on the product itself is severe, leading to recalls, stockouts, and direct patient risk. Commercially, the result is significant financial loss and severe reputational damage. Therefore, mastering the batch record review is not merely a quality task. It is an essential business function for maintaining compliance and supply chain integrity. The regulatory mandate for batch records is explicit and unwavering. Regulators require that batch records must be an accurate reproduction of the master record and include complete information relating to the production and control of each batch. This fundamental requirement is anchored by three non-negotiable principles that must be verified during every review. The first principle is traceability. This principle answers the critical question: who did what, when, and with what? The record must meticulously document the identity of all major and minor equipment used, the identification of every component that went into the batch, and all required signatures that attest to activities performed. Every entry must be made contemporaneously, meaning at the time the action occurred, with clear dates and times. Without this clear, unbroken chain of evidence, the history of the product is compromised, and the batch cannot be released. We must be able to track every raw material lot, every equipment usage history, and every operator action backward and forward through the entire process. The second principle is accountability. The documentation must clearly identify the persons performing the operation, but equally important, it must identify the persons directly supervising or checking each significant step. This principle underpins the dual verification signature requirement, a cornerstone of GMP. It ensures that two trained individuals confirm the veracity of critical steps, such as material weighment, setting of critical process parameters, or confirming line clearance. Accountability ensures that ownership for every phase of manufacturing is clearly established and documented. The third principle is completeness. The record must be comprehensive, covering the entire manufacturing and packaging process from start to finish. This includes every detail, such as the initial weighing of raw materials, the critical calculation of yield reconciliation, strict adherence to labeling control procedures, and crucially, the results of any investigations into unexpected events or deviations. A batch record with missing pages, unclosed entries, or unaddressed discrepancies is simply an incomplete record, and therefore, non-compliant. The reviewer must ensure that no required form or attachment is absent. A complete batch story is detailed across two interconnected documents: the batch manufacturing record, BMR, and the batch packing record, BPR. The batch manufacturing record, or BMR, serves as the recipe and its execution. It is the story of making the product. This section meticulously documents the core activities: raw material dispensing, the processing steps themselves, such as mixing, blending, compression, or filling, the results of in-process controls, IPCs, performed throughout the run, and the calculations for yield at various stages. If the product is a tablet, the BMR documents the granulation, drying, milling, and compression phases. The batch packing record, or BPR, covers the finishing and packaging phase. It is the story of preparing the product for market. The BPR focuses on securing the drug product and making it ready for the patient. It details line clearance verification, strict label control, the reconciliation of all packaging materials, both printed and non-printed, and the final quantity of packed units. The focus here is on preventing mix-ups and ensuring correct identification and labeling. When reviewing the BMR, a systematic checklist is applied to verify that making This process begins with raw materials, ensuring dispensing logs, weighment sheets, and the supplier's certificate of analysis, COA, are verified against the official bill of materials, BOM. The specific lot numbers of every component must be confirmed. Next is equipment. All equipment usage, cleaning, and calibration logs for major machinery, like the rapid mixer granulator, fluid bed dryer, or compression machine, must be complete, and the calibration dates must be confirmed as current and within specified limits. The review must confirm that all recorded process parameters, including times, temperatures, speeds, pressures, and stirring rates, match the specifications laid out in the Master Batch Record, MBR. Any slight variation must be documented. In-process controls, IPCs, are checked to ensure all results, such as tablet hardness, weight variation, or content uniformity, are documented and verified to be within predefined acceptance criteria. Finally, yield reconciliation requires the actual yield to be calculated against the theoretical yield at critical stages. Any discrepancy, whether an overage or a shortage, must be investigated, documented, and fully justified, as unjustified yield discrepancies are major compliance red flags. Similarly, the BPR checklist verifies the packing line clearance documentation must confirm, with dual signatures, that the packaging area was entirely free of all previous batch materials before starting the current operation. This is critical to prevent cross-contamination or mislabeling. Packaging materials require strict reconciliation of all printed items, such as foils, cartons, and labels, confirming the count of issued materials matches used and destroyed materials, all within acceptable limits. Coded samples of these materials must also be attached to the record for future verification. Labeling accuracy demands a review of the final label specimen to ensure it correctly reflects the batch number, manufacturing date, and expiry date. The process requires full documentation of sample collection, including the withdrawal of control samples, stability samples, and any other required samples, ensuring they are properly identified and stored. The final step is final reconciliation and transfer, ensuring the finished goods transfer note is complete and the final packed quantity matches the records, officially transferring custody of the compliant product. The entire batch record then enters a cross-functional verification process, often referred to as the gauntlet, involving multiple tiers of review. This process ensures independence and depth of scrutiny. This begins with the production chemist or operator who fills the record contemporaneously and performs the initial check for completeness. Next, the production supervisor reviews the filled record for accuracy, verifies completeness, and corrects any immediate, simple deficiencies. They are primarily verifying that the process was executed according to the approved manufacturing directions. The record then moves to the QA chemist for the first dedicated quality assurance review, which is a deep dive compliance review. The QA chemist scrutinizes all reconciliations, exhaustively verifies every report and enclosure, and most critically, takes the lead on investigating any documented deviations. They are checking for adherence to regulatory requirements and internal standard operating procedures. The process culminates with the head QA designee, who performs the final authoritative review. This individual takes responsibility for the ultimate decision on batch disposition and grants the final approval for batch release, signing off on behalf of the company that the product is fit for human use. Inevitably, reality sometimes deviates from the blueprint. A deviation is defined as an unplanned departure from an approved instruction or established standard. When this happens, a robust investigation is mandatory and is a direct regulatory expectation. The investigation must include four main components: immediate documentation and classification of the event by its potential impact, for instance, minor, major, or critical. A thorough root cause analysis, RCA, is essential. The investigation must move beyond symptoms to find the true, deepest origin of the deviation. A comprehensive impact assessment must be conducted to determine if the deviation affects the product's quality, safety, or efficacy. Finally, effective corrective and preventive actions, CAPA, must be established, detailing what was done to fix the immediate issue for the current batch and what systemic changes will be made to prevent recurrence. The final judgment concerns releasing a batch even with a deviation. This is a highly controlled exception and is only possible if four stringent conditions are met. The final product must meet all registered specifications for active substances, excipients, and the finished product itself. The deviation must have been genuinely unexpected and thoroughly investigated to its root cause. The impact on the product's quality, safety, or efficacy must be negligible, and the root cause must have been corrected through an effective CAPA. This decision is never taken lightly and requires a complete risk-based assessment. The ultimate declaration of compliance for a batch is the Certificate of Analysis, COA. The COA is the formal record confirming that the batch meets all defined specifications for identity, potency, purity, safety, and quality. It establishes the final, unbroken chain of evidence for auditors and customers alike. The three main records tell a cohesive story. The master record states what we intended to make, the batch record shows what we actually did, and the certificate of analysis is the proof that the lot is compliant, confirming that the QC results fall within the accepted specifications. For instance, if the specification for assay is 98.0 to 102.0% and the result is 99.8%, the COA confirms compliance for that test. Finally, the industry is making a necessary shift from manual, paper-based systems to digital solutions. Electronic batch records, EBRs, offer significant advantages in mitigating the very errors we are discussing. The EBR advantage includes real-time error prevention, where the system flags missing entries or calculation errors immediately. It enforces procedural sequence, meaning operators cannot skip critical steps. It provides automated data capture by integrating directly with scales and equipment, eliminating human transcription errors. It creates immutable audit trails, which is crucial for data integrity and regulatory compliance. And finally, it allows for instant retrieval and trend analysis, facilitating faster batch review and proactive quality monitoring. However, it is important to note that hybrid systems, those mixing paper and electronic documentation, are often cautioned against by regulatory bodies as they present their own set of data integrity risks. The entire process of batch record review is built upon the four pillars of a defensible batch record review. These pillars are regulatory adherence, meaning you must master the applicable regulations such as 21 CFR Part 211 and IQ 7. Process rigor, which demands following established standard operating procedures without fail. Investigative depth, requiring every deviation to be treated with scientific scrutiny. And data integrity, which means championing accuracy and traceability, ensuring all data adheres to the ALCOA principles: attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. This commitment ensures that every released batch is safe and effective for the patient. The batch record is the biography of a medicine. Read it carefully.